Good everyone, welcome to this video, and today we have a Spade review on the M4A4 Chinese Sherman. Now, I was actually quite looking forward to this thing because I missed the M4A4 chassis. Because obviously the only time I've really used it was on the French SA50, which I absolutely love that thing. Even if its mobility is a bit poor, but it gets the job done. And obviously the gun on it is amazing. And I was looking forward to actually playing this thing because I knew China got some M4A4s. During, well, obviously the Chinese and Japanese conflict from the Americans. Now, to give a bit brief of history, should I say, on the M4A4 as a whole, the crews that got this thing in the US side, they didn't really like it. Obviously, you've got to remember, we've gone from the M4A1 Cash Sherman to the M4A2, M4A3, which had probably the best engine in the series, in my opinion. The 500 horsepower Ford GAA, which is a cracking motor. But then they go from that engine, which it was being used on quite a few tanks, I will admit. But then they put another radial engine in this tank. I think it was to like take pressure off the Ford GAA motor plant, shall we say. And to be honest, I can sort of see why, but this is a real, like, it's a bit of a detriment to this thing's performance. Now, obviously, Armour Protection with that actually goes down, but not in some areas. The Armour Protection on this thing is still pretty good for what it is. Obviously, it's a Sherman, so you're not going to be bouncing shots left, right, and centre, but you can if you get it angled right. But obviously, it's less than the M4A3 and M4A2 models. It's pretty comparable to an M4A1 in terms of armour protection. So let's go over it then. Obviously, the lower part is very similar to a Cash Sherman, as I've mentioned, with 50mm or 50.8 protecting it. It's the upper part where it's similar to a standard M4, as I call it. The three. In fact, it's just better if I say, well, like show you which one I mean. I mean this one. I call it the standard M4. Okay, that's just what I call it. This is pretty much the hull design, or the upper hull design that you have on this tank. And obviously, you do get the applique armor, as it is called, over the driver's port and the co-driver's port. It is actually pretty dang good for soaking up rounds. However, not at close range. Most guns at close range will punch right through this and the armor behind it. It's the actual sloped armor that you're going to want to really utilize. Side armor and rear armor, standard Sherman, 38.1. Turret, 50.8 around the sides and rear. Front, now there is a bit of a weak spot, which you can probably tell. And as far as I'm aware, that is incorrect. I believe the actual armor thickness for that part there, which is, I believe it's for the electronic turret traverse, should be 51mm thick, not 34. So that is a bit of a weak spot if you ever encounter one of these things hold down. Just bear that in mind. The gun mantlet is, again, standard M4, so it's pretty dang tough. And obviously the turret front is 76.2. The gun, I don't really need to go over. If you've used the Sherman with a 75mm, you've used this tank's gun, so don't really need to go over that. But to be honest, the stock round, obviously, it's okay, but it's when you want to get the M61 shot. This thing is a beast with M61. And you're going to see that in this battle. But obviously, 400 horsepower radial engine, yeah, this is a bit of a problem. Now, it gets the tank along nicely, it's worse than what they had before it, if that makes sense. The Ford GAA motor, as I mentioned, is probably the best in the series, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, as I said, it gets the job done. But just bear in mind, you're not going to be moving around like you're some sort of, well, you're like your Road Runner, basically. If you've ever watched Willie Coyote and Road Runner, trust me, it's like Wacky Racers. I grew up with a lot of interesting TV shows and stuff like that. I love those things like Wacky Racers. As I said, Roadrunner and Willie Coyote. Pink Panther was another great one that I loved. And I can still remember the day when Phineas and Ferb ended. If you ever remember those. Obviously, some of the older audience members will probably remember that. Well, most of those, if not all. And another one I really enjoyed was Top Cat. Surprisingly, my dad got me into Top Cat. So, M4A4 Sherman. I've put it on 4x speed because this thing is not a fan of snow. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, and well, that I'm a bit annoyed about, is, in fact, I'll pause it here, just to point it out. The M4A4 does not have a 50 cal. However, the premium one does, and yet we have a mount for it. That looks to me like a mount for a 50 cal. Gaijin, give us that 50. Trust me, it makes a big bloody difference. I mean, as much as I love to just keep firing the 75 at things like R3s and stuff like that, I'd rather tear them apart with a Mardu's, thanks. That's just my opinion. I know it's to make the premium one a bit different, but the premium one already is different because of its weird ass paint job and camouflage scheme. And well, here's where the armor is actually going to prove itself to be pretty dang good. I saw that guy backing up briefly, so I knew he was there roughly. Obviously, P40, and obviously I'm watching right. I thought if I go for the P40, however I hit the driver's port, which you're not going to pen any day of the week, with a 75mm. And obviously, I'm in a bit of a, shall we say, questionable situation now. Obviously, Puma, I went for the disable shot, but I missed the transmission. R3 there came around the corner, damaged my gun breech a little bit, but no big deal. P40 comes around the corner, I have a stabilizer, he doesn't, first kill. This is where I'm going to get a bit of a lucky, shall I say, a bit of a lucky shit moment, and you'll see what I mean. Down that road to the left, there's an M4 Tipo Sherman, and I didn't know it at the time. You'll see what I mean by lucky shit. I thought that shot would have hit. It actually hit the inside of the train car, so it didn't penetrate. That one went through a gap in the train car, and there's your lucky shit moment. And there's also another lucky shit moment. He bounced the 17-pounder off the front of my Sherman, and I managed to pen his cast armoring with a very lucky penetration. Yeah, let's just say, after I got that bit of luck, I had pretty shit games for quite some time as I was working on the skins for the M10, the Chinese M10. Still need to do skins on the French M10, so you might see a video on the French M10 at some point. It's exactly the same as the other M10s, just it fights for the French, to put it simply. So obviously I'm moving up here, and I want to get to Joe's pile of shit. Now if you don't know what Joe's pile of shit is, there is a little shit up there actually. There's a Puma. Obviously I don't know why I'm pointing with my finger here, but essentially Joe's pile of shit is right. You'll see it when this Puma pulls out on the right hand side. That's Joe's pile of shit. Obviously I'm looking, I spot this Semavente. I feel sorry for this guy. You shouldn't be playing that over-tiered piece of crap. And there's Joe's pile of shit, where that Puma has just put a shot into my front, but failed to penetrate. I take out the gunner and driver, and I wait for the reload, and job done. 5th kill, there's your ace. A RE2000 GA comes in to drop some bombs on me. Unfortunately, they're only 100 kilos, so they don't really do much. I believe that was the guy in the M4 Tipo who actually dropped those bombs. I can't quite remember. Or it might have been someone else. But obviously, I use the cover of the smoke here, and I start moving up. And yeah, it's a great spot either way you use it. Obviously, I'm on the side where I tend normally not to go, but this can work. Obviously, I messed up this shot here, which didn't really help my situation. But obviously, I reacquire the target, I elevate accordingly, and it slices right through the Panzer IV F2, and that's a kill. Kill number 6. Now, I did get a couple of air kills with this Coax 30, I will admit. I did get one with a 75 at one point. But the 30 caliber for dealing with anti-aircraft purposes is not great. You really do have to use shot placement with the 30 cal. And if need be, just fire the 75, it'll probably do better. But not having that 50 cal is a bit of a detriment, in my opinion. That's pretty much one of the few downsides of this vehicle, other than the mobility being a bit mediocre when it's stock. So just bear that in mind. There's that little shit that you're going to see quite a bit. That Delta V in the M42 Contrario. And I would make a contrario to popular belief joke here, but I'm pretty sure someone's already done that, and I can already hear people in the audience going, "Oh, that was bad." Don't worry, I've got a better dad joke for you if you want. Kill number 7. That was the guy in the Tipo, turns out. Anyway, speaking of the dad joke, might as well do it, because we're going to be here for a bit with that M42. But obviously I'm angled, so it's no big deal. 4 midgets are breaking into a bank in Germany. They use a trampoline to access the building by a window. They all escape in an Audi. It's been called the 4-sprung dwarf technique. There you go, that's your one dad joke of the day. Because I haven't done one in a while. If you like that one and you want to hear more dad jokes from me, please do let me know. I will continue to do dad jokes in videos. I don't tend to do them anymore. Not many people tend to react to them. But I know some people in the audience will be like, "Fucking hell Christ, that was bad." I could come up with worse. Trust me. But obviously I'm sat hold down here. We're going to be sat here for a couple of minutes as we just stay hold down. The whole point of this Sherman is to play hold down a little bit, because obviously the turret armor is surprisingly good. There's kill number 8. I did skip it a bit, but it was just a humour. Not like it really matters. I don't know why I was playing hold down against a M42. I did lob a smoke round there to see if it would draw him out to maybe charge me. It didn't. I really don't get why I fired a smoke round in the first place, because I know players like that are not going to charge because they're just sat in anti-aircraft and they're just going to camp their spawn, which, to be honest, I don't bloody blame him. I'm not really going to insult him for camping a spawn in anti-aircraft. I'd do it myself at this point, personally, looking at his team. But, I mean, it looks to me like a quarter of his team is in anti-aircraft, so I sort of feel sorry for the guy. So I can't really berate him, shall we say. And obviously, at this point, he actually damaged, I believe it's an optic on the roof, which you can actually now repair optics, so it does technically count as damage, so to speak. Which, I mean, it helps with getting assists. I have gotten assists by just hitting a guy with an armor piercing round and not actually penetrating the tank by just hitting the optics. At this point though, this Panzer IIIM decided to try and flank me. However, what he doesn't know is that there's a friendly literally right there who cleaned his clock. So that was always nice, wasn't it? You see, like, the problem is with Chinese teams is some days you get really shit teams, like what I've been having, Spade Chinese Mustangs. But when you get teammates like that guy right there, and that, I believe it's a, yeah, it's T-34, that's when you know you've got a good team, because teammates like that, even though he didn't even fully know it was there, he obviously was tracking it, like, roughly where the Panzer III was, he still came back to help me out, so thank you to, what's his name? Oh, that's that M42 again. I'm just gonna find that guy's name. Game over underscore OTW. Thanks, dude. There's kill number 9 on that, well, one of the M42s. I believe that's the guy who's been dinging off my frontal plate for about 5 minutes now, it feels like. But obviously I start moving up. The game is almost over at this point. We've got about 2 minutes left to go. And obviously I'm looking around for an additional target. I don't think the replay showed it that well, but there was actually 20mm holes all over the front of my Sherman. And at this point I thought, nah, I don't like the look of this. I don't feel confident, so I loaded smoke and I started retreating back. I didn't feel confident, shall we say. But let's just say that sort of pays off my, shall we say, my fear about moving up. And to be honest, that's the best thing to do in a Sherman. If you don't think you can move up due to superior enemy numbers, just don't. Just stay where you are. Chances are you're going to get a shot that you don't expect. A bit like what's going to happen in a moment. You see that 105-25? He sees me, I don't see him. He misses though. He, for some reason, decides to just sit there. I target acquire him at this moment. I obviously had armor piercing loaded, even though the optics showed me not having it loaded. And that is my 10th and final kill for this game. So what do I think of the Chinese M4A4? Like I said, pretty dang decent tank. Like I say, missing that 50 cal does make a difference for it, and it would really help it if it did have that 50 cal. Which obviously it does have the petrol mount for, so it would be nice if someone put a bug report for that. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this tank. It was a lot of fun to play, and just overall, it was a lot of fun to just spade and grind the skins on. So in terms of kills and everything, 5 deaths, 5 air kills, 94 ground targets, which I believe is just short of 20 to 1, because I played this thing very passive, well, sort of passive aggressively, if you get what I mean. Like, well, not really passive aggressively, more like I would go in, find a good position, and just sit there. That's kind of that's what I tended to do, and I got the best results doing that. You'll have your own differences and everything, but I think this is a tank that should not be avoided in the Chinese sector, even though the mobility is a bit crap. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys off, and I hope you enjoyed today's video on the M4A4, and I will see you all on the next one.